Right, it's a lime plaster repair job. That's on lath on the wall. So hack it off, tap around, that's loose. It's all loose. That's loose. And get a little bit harder as you go up. You can tell the difference. So let's get covered up and get it stripped off and see what the situation is here. Well, that's all stripped off now from a little patch what was there. It's now turned into a lot bigger patch. So you want to make sure all this old lime is out of the last, because you want the new stuff to bind behind it. So you want to get it cleaned out, screwdriver, anything handy. Just get them cleaned out, brush it down, make sure your edges are clean, everything's all nice and clean. And then what you want to do is give it a spray of water all the way over, just to remove the dust what is on there, just to help the new lime to stick and bind in and hold with the hair, so it actually grips around that like a claw and get a nice solid fixing. So we'll move on and spray it up with water and get ready for first coat, and I'll show you that process as well. Right, this is your lime putty mix. For your base coat, it is a sharp sand, grit, sharp sand in there, and then you've got horsehair on top of that. What is just here, and then you have to literally hand pick it out each time. I would recommend that you put a bit in now, and then when you're mixing it, add a bit more in, just to make sure it all binds together. It takes quite a while to mix in. I would literally allow a good 10 minutes to get a full mix for it to all bind together, and I'll show you the finished result. I would recommend that you wear gloves and goggles for this. I've literally just took mine off to put a new pair on. So to do the hair, because it just gets tangled up if you've got putty on your gloves, it just gets tangled up. So it's just easier, just change your gloves and you don't get it all bind together, just like that. Right, on to the next bit. Right, back inside. The mix we just did was a 3:1 ratio, and then we got that has all been wet. I've had lunch, I've come back, and needs to have a re-wet, concentrating on around them edges with the water, and then when we put a mortar on, we concentrate around the edges, make sure it's all pushed in around them edges, really pushed in. And what we don't want to do is put the stuff on going up, because you create a looping effect and it will not bind in. You don't want to go horizontal, because it just will not go in. Your best bet is just diagonal all the way along, and then pushing it in so they get a nice binding around them laughs. You want a nice thin coat to start off with and see how it goes from there. Right, I'll carry on from there. Well, I've gone around the outside perimeter, pushing it all in, all the way around the outside. Don't worry about the mess yet, we can clean it up later on. Right, that is a perfect example of why you do not go up, because you pushing it through, and you might as well not. You're just pushing it through the other side. You can see trail's just digging in each time, creating a ladder effect. And that's the crossroads version, where you're grabbing the gear and you're pushing it across, spreading it through, and then it will bind through. You can't quite see it, but I do like to double check that it is actually got a grip around it. But when you know you got it. From first time you put your first one on, you know you've got a key, because if not, it won't be doing that. So right, let's get this whole patch filled in and squared off. Right, what you want to do is, obviously we've got on stage, that's on. Put it on, and then we derbied it up, make sure it's nice and flat, because this was thin. I was able to do a one coat because it's so thin. I just managed to do one coat. Usually you end up doing 3 coats. It can vary, really depend on how thick between the lath and the old plaster is. So put it on, derbied it, cleaned round the outside to make sure this was purely true, and then I derbied it again to then make sure that it's dead flat, and then come tomorrow it's still workable, so it will not go off. It takes ages to go off, so you can still work with it. What you can do then, scrape a bit back round the edges in the middle. I like to do it flat, so I know I'm scraping off an even surface for me to put my top layer on. So I'll show you more once that's gone off a bit more, and how it should be before you then put your top coat on, and then I'll show you the finished product when it's done. So as you can tell, that's proud, slightly proud there, but flush. So when I clean up, it's unbelievable how it works. But yeah, I'll show you more as the time go on with this. When you do stipple it back, it does help to roughen this up. So when you put your top layer on, I actually got a key to go to, because at the minute I am a little bit too flat, a little bit too smooth, but I'll break it up tomorrow, let it aerogate a bit more before I then put my top coat on. Right, we're all scraped back, clean round your edges. Make sure you're the same depth all the way around. I like to go for a 3 to 4 mil, depending on your next product you're putting on and the thickness, but make sure it's rough still, because you still want it to breathe all the way through. If it's smooth, the idea is it don't breathe. You ain't got the key for the next coat to go on, so you want to leave a nice key. Make sure your edges are clean, very important, edges are clean. Now I usually allow a mil a day to go off, dependent on what it is. But yeah, my personal preference, a mil a day. So you just work out, so it's 5 mil, 5 days. You just got to leave it to do its job, ready for the next stage. Right for next day. and just started scraping it back. Right, next day, as you can tell, it's a little bit more firmer. It just brings up the grain a little bit. Now we want to do is take back these edges back to where we were before. Right, here's the top coat gone on. Now I've over skimmed it. You're looking about 50 ml over skim all around where it was in before. Different mix ratio as well. So in that mix, what you see there, I have got 1 sharp sand, 2 kiln dry sand, and 2 lime putty. So it's a slightly stronger mix than the previous one. Oh, you want it smooth so you can work with it. You still want your grit in there, hence the sand with the stone, and you still want to put your hair in that mix to stop that from cracking. So you just want to leave that now, and I'll show you when it comes to finishing. So, and I'll let you know how many hours later it was as well. So right, cleaned up around the outside of it, flattened it out, watered my edges, blended it all in. Just got to leave it. That was 8 hours before the first initial putting that coat on, to then flatten that out. So I'm going to leave that and check it a little bit later, see how it is, and touch up from there. Just got to leave it to dry and just make sure all them hairs are pushed in flat. If that's flat, then you ain't got to put them at all. But I just went round with another flex to flatten it all out. I've seen people do it with a tiling float just to flatten off if you do not have another, but I recommend that more at the end, but I will show you that process as I go on. Just a quick one where the finishes is, just move it out to what it is, and then you got the don't know if you can make out where the hair is, and we just about to see where the hair is on there. Right, there you go, all done. Just gotta leave it dry now. Let nature do its cool. "24 hours later, I was like, just run your fingers through it. Also, I can't show you because I've done it and I went, oh, I didn't record anything. But yeah, 24 hours, should be able to just run the top of your fingers through it and just be a little bit stipply, like you would plaster before you do your final trowel. Does that make sense? So what you want to do is brush all around your edges, clean right up because this is the final pass, and then give it one nice smooth over, finish, and then just leave it. Three days later, I literally cleaned around the outside, sponge floated all the middle, and then gave it one other finish over, just to make sure, because I was a little bit hit and miss in places, a little bit high, a little bit low, and just that was like ready for paint, but I just wasn't 100% happy with it. So I just took off the top layer of surface and then re-flattened it all. I'm going to wipe down all these edges with a cloth all the way around, and then all I got to do is literally paint it with an breathable paint like clay. This one be done in the clay paint. Right, next stage, paint. Nice and firm, dry, lovely. Right, let's get painting. Right, here we are, ready for paint. Nice and firm. If you rub it, then obviously you're going to get a little bit, obviously it's still breathable, but yeah, happy to work with that. Don't forget to follow, like, one patch hole repair done.